Come, hold my hand. Let's go on an adventure. Hi. Welcome to Momatic Adventures. I'm your host, Effie McMorris, and today we are going to talk about ASL and libraries. And these are two things that I'm probably going to talk about like a ton. So maybe we can say education as like a all-encompassing topic of today, but specifically we're going to talk about sign language, how I made the choice to utilize baby sign language and then transition into ASL with Poppy May. And additionally, I'm going to touch a little bit more on libraries, how we utilize the library, how we make sure that we're getting as much educational entertainment as we possibly can when we go to the library. And that is not to say that education is the primary concern in our outings, but in a specific instance where we're going to the library, I like to consider going to the library on par with going to school. We're going to socialize. We're going to learn different things that we want to do in public settings and how to practice those things. And then additionally, how to interact and search for things at a library that we, or more so specifically, that Poppy finds enjoyable and that I find enjoyable. And then really how we incorporate that in our everyday lives and how we utilize that when we travel. So that is a quick, big summary of what we're going to talk about today. As I've said before, I'm Effie. I go by Momo to the child that I parent. And I go by Momo because I was aiming for a name that really I thought suited me and what I wanted to be as a parent. And I'm not a big fan of names being the same. We always come up with nicknames and stuff like that for the people we love and the people in our lives. And, similar to grandparents or whatever, I think that we should be able to kind of pick our own names. So, Ryan, my husband, is Appa. I am Momo, and we get to parent our totally rad kid, Poppy May. And then we have a little dog named Tilly who comes along with us on our adventures. And I'm going to let you guys in on some of how we navigate that. A big part of jumping into parenthood or entering into parenthood and me wanting to help foster an environment for the kid that we care for to find a way to be herself and make her own choices and foster a sense of independence and personality, I guess, and whatever. And really, realistically, I think it was really important to me to give Poppy May the opportunity to communicate with me the best that I could as early as possible. So I found through a ton of study and research that baby sign language was probably the best way to do that. When she was about 2.5, 3 months old, we met up with somebody in my family who actually is an early intervention specialist. We were at a family event and it was Poppy's first time at this event. There was a lot going on, but from the corner, Poppy was maybe 2 months old. She saw me signing and doing more and doing milk and doing my best to sign with the very few signs that I knew, with the very few things that Poppy understood. And she came up to me and she was like, "Hey, are you signing at your baby?" And I was like, "I am signing at my baby." And she was like, "I'm, like an early intervention specialist," and started telling me all about what she does for work. And I was so intrigued and so eager to chat with her more. And we are somewhat distant relatives. And so our communication prior to that hadn't been very often. And so we exchanged numbers and we stayed in contact, and she provided me a ton of resources and a ton of help. And so I'm going to share some of that with you. I'm going to share some of the things that I utilize that really made a difference for us. And I hope that some of it helps you, and you can take from this what you want and you can leave what you don't. In no way, shape, or form is this the right way to parent. There's nothing about my way of parenting that is supposed to do anything but give Poppy May the best opportunities and choices for her life. And so I see people often who see us signing because she's so young, and they get a little disheartened, and I can see the sadness because they want that communication with their child, and then they're so eager to have it. And people are so like, oh, what do I do? How do I get started? So I am going to share a little bit about how I got started, but I think it is so important for people to know that I started really early. It is why Poppy May is so advanced. It is why she's able to communicate the way that she can. But in no way, shape, or form is it the norm. Is it, it's different for everybody. And I hope that in me sharing my story, you do not have another person reminding you or giving you any judgment or feeling any sort of way about your parenting style. If there is something about this that you like, please take it, implement it, try and utilize it. But tomorrow is a new day. You don't have to do it every day. Not everything has to be as consistent as they make it seem on social media. So try tomorrow if you want. Bring one sign into your life, and that's going to be your best way to do it. Please excuse me as I take a quick drink. So Poppy May is about 2-3 months old. And at this time, we've been signing milk when she drinks. We've been signing tired or more, very, very little simple signs that can be done with one hand, a whole hand movement, and doesn't require any sort of finger dexterity or ability to move any digit individually. So baby sign language is a great place to start. There is so much on the internet. I for sure am going to add some resources that I use specifically here, but I want you to know there are literally so many places. Go out, do a little bit of research, or utilize these. They're great. But thing number one that we started doing was we would get books, literally the lame thing or whatever. Not lame. I think books are so lame. But no, so we would go to the library and we'd take out a couple baby sign language books. I did some research online and found out what those core things are for a large majority of parents. There is Miss Rachel, who I know introduces a lot of baby signing. But there is a very specific 2 things that Poppy and I watch if we watch TV, and that is a YouTube channel called MyGo ASL. And what they do is they take some common childhood television shows like Cocomelon, Lello Farm, some other ones like Gecko's Garage, and they sort of grow with age. And so we started at Lello Farm, and what it is, it's a Lello City Farm, and it specifically targets farming in cities and implementing really good practices. So there's a song about vegetables and a song about fucking picking up your trash, and it's all really inclusive and really wonderful, and I fucking love it. There are definitely some other shows on MyGo ASL that I'm not as keen on, but apart from that, I think Lello City Farm is a great place. So if you go to YouTube and I'm sure I can tag them somehow in my YouTube channel, which if you go to youtube.com and you type in Momatic Adventures Podcast, you can find YouTube clips, you can find full episodes, everything's there. You can also head over to patreon.com/Momatic Adventures. We really appreciate it. Anyway, So Lullaby City Farm, MyGo ASL on YouTube. Type it in. They have like, oh my goodness. First of all, they have like massively long playlists. So like almost an hour, I think. And they just go through very simple songs like Five Little Ducks. They go over like Twinkle Twinkle Little Star and Old MacDonald and like whatever, the songs, the little kid songs. And there's someone in the corner signing it. So there is a person in the corner translating the song that you're hearing being sung. And they're like legitimately in the corner signing. And some people are like, yeah, Effie, they're in the corner signing. That's like, why are you emphasizing that so much? Because a lot of people don't know this. I have always been a person who I got a little excited. I'm a closed captioning person. I think that I'm like self-diagnosed hard of hearing, but I think more realistically, it's like a cognitive learning issue where when there's too much stimulation, I have trouble like categorizing like audio sounds. And so maybe that's why I like podcasts so much. But tonight specifically, we were at the movies, and for the first time ever, I asked for closed captioning in a fucking movie theater, like went up to the people and was like, hi, I'd like to get closed captioning on this, and they were like, yeah, sure. Like, that's very normal. And it was phenomenal. I haven't stopped talking about it for the last hour. I mean, I have, but like it really was so fucking cool to be able to enjoy a movie in a movie theater with a tool that like makes me enjoy things better and able to process things better. And it just was really fucking dope to have that. So also, if you've never done that at a movie theater, you can go up to the ticket counter or the customer service counter, and you can actually ask them for a closed captioning or audio descriptive text to have during the movie for deaf or hard of hearing people or people with cognitive issues the only reason I recommend having a disability before utilizing these things is only because they aren't so readily available. It looks like in the times that I've witnessed it, there's usually only like one or two available when I go and ask them. They're not really confident about getting it connected. So if you don't need it and it's Friday night or something, maybe don't do it. But if you do need it or you think it could make your movie going experience better, like do it. I genuinely like it changed my movie going experience. It was absolutely phenomenal. So I highly recommend it. But that is just another way that we can provide a comfortable and more accessible life for everybody. And if they had like 100 of them, one for every fucking seat there, maybe, I don't know. It might be nice. I also know they have like show times where you can go and they have it on the screen. But like, again, inclusive within like borders, which is kind of like a bummer. But anyway, so we started baby sign language and it wasn't immediate. So we started when she would get the very few times that she would watch TV, we'd put on MyGo ASL, which played kind of the music she wanted. And while that was playing, I was sort of able to learn to sign along with the songs, which was really helpful. And like as an adult, definitely I like absorbed it quicker. And then we also use something called Signing Time, which is a paid service that allows you to get those interpreters on screens that you normally wouldn't. So it's a paid service. They have a ton of like movies and things in their directory, and then you're able to connect that to whatever you're watching, and it allows you to see signs. And then they also have classes that we watch and we take together where Poppy and I learned some words. So that's how we started sign language. I don't think I actually saw Poppy even like remotely sign until she was probably like 6 or 7 months, and we started getting like, kind of a milk here, and like she kind of started doing like pointing at things like my breasts to say like she wanted to nurse and like things like that. So there was like some subtle acknowledgement of the work I was doing, but really minimal. And it was certainly defeating at times. And it's really, really hard to stay consistent when you're not seeing that like immediate result. I mean, like literally, hey, starting a podcast. I am actually tonight like recording an episode because the episode that was supposed to go out today, like the audio was so fucking shitty on it. And I worked on it. And 3 months ago, I didn't know what a compressor did. I didn't know how to edit sounds and speed and volume, but like now I can, and it's fucking dope. So, but it still didn't do me any good, and I had to record a new episode, which is what I'm doing now at, oh my gosh, almost 11 o'clock at night. So let's get going. She did not start, nothing came of it quickly, which was a little bit defeating, a little bit disheartening. So I know I've seen a lot of parents who are like, like I did that with my kid, but then I like fell off or this and that. Like that's probably the hardest part. Like pick 5 words and just do those 5 words consistently as you possibly can. Like milk, more, thank you. What I'm trying to think of what her first 5 were: milk, more, thank you, Momo, and Appa. And those were like her first 5 words that we like tried to very, very consistently sign so that there was some type of correlation. When she was about a year old, all of a sudden it like clicked. So it was also kind of around the time we started making library school a consistent part of our traveling adventures. It seemed like really important to me. It felt like it was so fucking beneficial to her. And I think it was like the week of her first birthday. She was turning 1. We were in Georgia. We had probably at that point been to like, oh my goodness, where were we? We were at like library number like 7 or 8 in our like journey of libraries. We've now been to over 30, which is absolutely insane. And I like cannot wait to tell you guys about every single one. But so she was about 1 when all of a sudden, like those 5 signs, she got them. All of a sudden, like milk clicked, then thank you clicked, then like more, or honestly, realistically, it was like more, milk, thank you, mom, dad, Momo, Appa, whatever. Like those signs, once she got those, it was like all of a sudden this switch turned on, and then I had to start finding out more signs. So we took out a bunch of baby signing books and we started going through those. And I think within like 3 or 4 weeks, she was learning like almost a sign a day. And I was like overwhelmed, mostly because I'm just really not a book person. I'm not great at books. Like to sit down in front of a book feels daunting, and it like you can like visually see like this is how far I haven't gotten, I guess. I'm just not good at them. And so I got a bunch of books, but they weren't as helpful as I was like really hoping that they would be. So this is when we started paying for signing time, and my mom gifted us a year's subscription of Lingvano. I'm really like such a big fan. I tell people because in all of our travels, people ask us constantly. Poppy isn't even 1.5 years, and she's able to sign sentences now. And for this podcast, I sit down and I write some stuff out, and she knows over 150 words. And I think what's really helpful for me, and I'm getting a little emotional right now, is I didn't know them either. I had no ASL experience. I knew a handful of signs. Hello, thank you. I mean, we all know hi, right? But like, I didn't know the alphabet. I didn't know really any of it. And so I've also learned over 150 words. And like, not only did I learn it, I then also taught it. And I think it's amazing to know that Poppy's second language will be English, that her first language now will always be ASL. And like, I want to take some pride in that. So pat me on the back for that one. But it literally started with all those small steps. So we took those small steps. We started investing in products that made sense. And we just started doing it together. We started learning together, and we started learning animals, and we started learning colors. And then, we started learning like different people. And today she was signing aunt at me, and I was like, what the fuck is this bitch saying? And then I was like, oh, you realized I was calling her auntie, and so you were signing that at me, just to what? I don't know, prove that she knew that sign. But and I had taught her that sign like a couple weeks ago, and I had forgotten about it. And so I think it's really, really helpful in just keeping the communication open. And like, we really have been able to like communicate so much, and she's been able to make her own decisions and make choices and tell me when, like, stop was a big one. Stop and don't touch were like pretty big phrases or words signs that she learned from the beginning, because it was important that she also learned those boundaries. I thought it was important that she learned those boundaries, and so she does that now, and she'll do it with dogs, and she'll do it with people, and she'll do it with me, and she'll say stop, Momo, stop, and she will like actively sign that at me. And like, sometimes if she's being nice about it, she'll do a Momo, stop please, or she'll do a Momo, stop, and then eventually she'll like say thank you, which I'm very, very keen on manner words. I think everybody should use their manner words more often. Please and thank you does not hurt a single soul, so utilize them if you can. She knows how to provide herself those boundaries, and sometimes people don't respect them because she's smaller, because she's maybe not being verbal. That's the other thing. Like, people have a lot of trouble because they don't know signs that she is maybe trying to say that. So her stop has actually become stop. Like, she will audibly say it because it's one of those signs that gets ignored, and she realizes that she has to be verbal about it, which is really fucking unfortunate. And I really hope that more people that listen to this will take into consideration that not every tiny person wants to be touched by you. They don't want to hug you, and they don't owe you a hug. You can ask for a hug, and if someone does not want to give you a hug, they do not have to. Okay? Period. The end of that little rant. But now, definitely the biggest challenges, I think, coming along with teaching her sign language was, one, not knowing it. And now she's at a pace that's like much faster than mine. So I'm like trying to learn the days of the week, and she's like, Mom, Sunday, like she's learning them at a speed that now is probably like at a same boat as me, but like, or like at the same speed as me. But I have other things that I have to like worry about during the day. And so I can't remember every fucking day of the week yet. But so that's when Lingvano is really, really helpful. I try and do it when I'm nursing her. I try and do it when I am in line at the grocery store. Right now we're in New Jersey, and I don't know if you know this, but you can't pump your own gas here. So when I'm sitting in my car waiting for the wonderfully nice person to walk over and pump my gas, I'm playing Lingvano if I'm not actively signing with her directly. And then again, when she's watching those television shows where we're watching and someone's signing, I'm also watching the signers, and I'm practicing, and I'm trying, and I'm doing all of that. So I think those things have been really important for keeping me consistent. But it definitely is hard. It requires intention and desire to do it. But I think what it has given us has been a level of communication that I really don't think a lot of kids at her age are able to communicate at. She, like I said, she's able to have, like, she's able to say full sentences. She's able to tell me like every animal at the zoo, like every single one. I think we got a book that had like 60 animals or 50 first animals or something. That's the other thing. There are actually some really good kid signing books out there. I will do my best to add them to our lists and our YouTube and our Patreon and all that fun stuff. But definitely look into baby signing books. They're really, really, really helpful. And I think it's affected her in a positive light. I really think like all it's going to do is allow her to be able to absorb. I mean, she loves reading. She can sit down with a book on her own and turn the pages and sign to herself and turn the pages and sign to herself. And so I think it's really given her the ability to already like look at books as something that's like giving her entertainment or excitement or knowledge or whatever. And I know as she gets older and she experiences more and she learns more, that will just grow larger. And I'm grateful to myself and to our ability to give her that first step in communication. I hope that it makes I hope that it means something to her when she gets older. I hope it means something to her now. Fuck, who knows? One of the things that people often ask when I tell them that we teach her ASL, like, oh, is she talking? And she doesn't speak much. She doesn't verbally speak much because she doesn't really need to yet. And I think it's very similar to kids walking. You know, especially when a kid is able to walk or glide and can do it holding someone's hand or with a walker, but it's that on their own independence, or like whatever, that gets a little scary. She's confident signing. She is able to say more things signing, and she doesn't have as much control over her mouth. So she knows a lot of animal sounds. And then I noticed that she uses her mouth more when she has difficulty getting her sign across. So Momo and Grandma are very similar, and same with Appa and Grandpa. And so when she says those words, especially when we're around those people or in a space near them, she makes the point to enunciate that she's saying Momo and not Grandma, or that she's saying Appa and not Grandpa or Dede or Yaya, because those signs are so similar. And then she does caveats. So she does descriptors. My father is Dede and he has a dog. So she'll usually say Dede dog. My mother is Gumpy and she will say Gumpy bird. And then additionally, like my grandma or her grandma and grandfather, Ryan's parents, like she associates with books. And so she will sometimes use book as a descriptor, but she is around them a lot. So she's pretty good at signing their names. But at other times, like she'll sign Tilly or Tyler. And like, because they start with T's, she'll kind of do like, maybe the sign for dog, or she does this like zzz thing with her like Uncle Tyler. And so anyway, so she'll do these like second word caveats to say like, oh, this is, or descriptors to say like, oh, this is who I'm talking about. So, it's either that or a verbal word. And I think that delayed speech scares some people. It definitely scared like the people in her life who see her rarely, but like have spent a lot of time around kids. So they're like, what do you mean? Because like she really didn't even start saying like any words, really. I think Nene was probably her first like real word, and she was like 13 or 14 months when when she started saying it. And it was because we did Old McDonald so many times, and we'd say, and a nay nay here and a nay nay there. And then all of a sudden she started saying nay nay when she saw horses. And everyone was like, oh, so she can talk. And like that was never a concern for me. It still isn't a concern for me. I've noticed as she needs to use her mouth, she does. But I do also know that communication skill of verbal speech is so widely the way of communication for a lot of the community that we spend time in. And so because of that, there is certainly a level of fear, I think, in that community around someone who's not utilizing their voice as often and as loudly and as, I don't know, confidently as other people want. And so that is certainly something that I would recommend taking into consideration when and if you decide to implement any sign language moments with your child. And I think it's made a huge impact. And I think it's created a desire for education and knowledge. And I think the other thing that we've really leaned into is libraries. And so I'm going to give you guys a little bit of a introduction into where libraries came from for me and Poppy. And then in some future episodes, you will hear more about specific libraries, what those libraries are like, libraries that we go to in different cities, et cetera, et cetera. I was a new mom and I had no idea what I was doing, but I knew that I wanted to get Poppy out and about and explore things. And at the time we lived in Ocean Grove, and across the street there was a place called Lakeshore, Lakeview, whatever, Lakeshine. Fuck, that's going to drive me insane. Anyway, they did music classes. They do music lessons. It's a music recording studio. It's phenomenal. I highly recommend it. If you're Lord, you should definitely record there. Or if you're like Bruce Springsteen, whatever. People have recorded there is the point. But they were doing little kid music classes. And I was like, oh yeah, let's do it. Blah, blah, blah. And we signed her up. And I think we signed her up for 6 classes. And it was something for one off class, it was $25. But then if you did 6 classes, it was maybe it was $100 for 6. So I was like, oh yeah, we're getting such a good thing, blah, 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 whatever. And at the time, $100 could buy you a ton of diapers. $100 is nothing to scoff at in the slightest. And I just didn't know what other options I had. And so I typed something in. I typed in music lessons, and this was cheap and cheap, but what seemed cheaper than $25 a class. So I was like, oh yeah, let's just get her 6 classes and we'll go. And so I take her to this place, and also I could be wrong on those prices. It was over a year ago. I don't remember specifically. Don't come after me. But she loved it. She did. She had so much fun, and they did the bubbles, and they taught the songs, and they had different music instruments, and the teachers sang, and it was so lovely, and it was so much fun. And I was like, well, we paid all this money. We're not missing a fucking class. And you're allowed to bring 2 caretakers. So every class I brought 2 caretakers. It did not matter. So I was like, Grandma, you're coming with us. Gumpy, you're coming with us. Any days that Appa was working and he couldn't come, I was making sure we were getting every bang for our buck. And Grandma comes with us one day, and she, we go home afterwards, and she's like, hey, how much did that cost? And I was like, I think it was less than $25 a class. We paid $100 for the whole whatever. And she was like, and she was trying so hard not to be you're doing parenting wrong. But she was a little bit you're spending unnecessary money. There are programs like this at the library. And I was like, there's programs at the library, ? What? And she was like, yeah. So she had done a little bit of that first research, and she said to me, oh, the Neptune library has this program and this program on these days. If you'd like to go, we can go together. I have, a library card and we can go and this and that. And so we start going to the Neptune library in Monmouth County for anybody who's curious. And I was like, oh my God, this is fucking free. And like, not only is it free, like it's what it's here for. It's here to create community. It's here to help foster like education and knowledge and social skills and a safe space. And like, I was blown away. I literally, and like, don't get me wrong, I've been to a library, but like, I went to a library when I was a kid, and then when I was in high school, I'd rather be at the mall or like at someone's house. And then, you're an adult and you kind of like, unless you're going to the library to get books, like I genuinely forgot that the library even existed. And so, yeah, that was our first like library excursion. And I don't think we would have done it without Grandma. And it like opened my eyes. So then I start being like, oh, okay, if there's free programs here, and like I started like gauging, what do I need to utilize these programs? Do I need a library card? No one's checking library cards. What's that about? Okay. So then I start asking questions and I start talking to people, and they're like, well, you don't actually need a library card to come and utilize our programs. Anybody in the community is able to use our programs. And so I was like, whoa. So I start doing the research. And the research essentially is that for the most part, every library wants you there. The more people they have come in and utilize the library, every little bit of foot traffic, it helps them. It helps them get stronger. It helps them get more backing, more money, more funding. So I'm definitely like, okay, yeah, if us showing up can be beneficial, like I want to show up. And then I found out every time Poppy shows up to one of those kids' classes, it gives the library more ambition and more desire to hold those classes. And there have most certainly been times where Poppy has been the only student there, but even if just one kid shows up, they will continue to fund those programs. And when Poppy isn't there, hopefully some other kid will be. Like, that's the word I want to preach. Like, we need to be going to the things in the community so the community will continue to put them on. And so as we started traveling, I realized that we could reach out to that community in all these places. And I figured out how to find out. So I'm going to tell you guys my steps. These are like my legitimate quick tip guide to going to the library. And again, I will talk about the specific libraries we go to, the things that we learn at each library, the activities they put on, if they're good, if they're not so good, I will also be really transparent about sometimes the people who are working at the library, like they should not be doing the kids programming. They do not like kids. They are not great at it. But they're the only person there because the funding isn't there or whatever it is. But now we have been to over 30 fucking libraries. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you my quick tip. So tonight, it is Tuesday night. We are in New Jersey. What I'm going to do is I'm going to type in on my phone in my Maps app. If you don't have a Maps app, go to your computer and go to Google Maps. If you don't know how to do that, you might not even be listening to this podcast, honestly. But so you go to any maps and you type in library. Now you start to zoom out of your map and you see where your closest libraries are and you click on them. One of the 5 closest libraries to you will have a website. If you do these steps and that you can't find 5 libraries near you and one of them having a website, let me know. I will reach out to that area and figure out what we can do to fix that for them, because this is our go-to move. So now we've found this library's website, and typically I'm just, for example, going to say RVA because they have a great website, rvalibrary.org. And you are able to find all the branches located in Richmond. In most cities that we go to, there is 3 to 10 libraries. I can't think of a city that had less than 3. But yeah, so they have like tons of branches usually, which means almost every single day of the week you can get to a class. I will say, like, when we were in Georgia, sometimes a library branch that is in your county could still be 30 minutes away. So definitely do a little bit of research, see what makes sense for you. But for the most part, you will find that every day one branch of the library will be having like a kids class, and they'll be at different times, and sometimes they're having more than one. Sometimes they're having extra special events. I know last week Poppy got to make a dinosaur stuffed animal. That was really fucking cool. And now she can sign Triceratops a lot, which is really fun. Like a lot though. Like she signs it like maybe too much. So there are these programs, and when you go to the website, you can like literally click on the branch and it'll tell you what events are happening that week. There's usually a calendar. I think only twice we've probably gone to the library over 100 times, at least over 50. We've only been to 30 different branches, but amount of times has got to have been more than that. And I think only twice ever was the website incorrect. And the one time it was off by 30 minutes. It said on the website 10:30, but the story time actually started at 10. The other time there just wasn't a story time, which was a real bummer. But we've done this like on the road. We've done this when like Ryan just needs to take a meeting and we need to stop somewhere, and like he needs to do, like 2 hours sitting in a library. We literally will just like pull up a map, look up the closest library, find out which one has classes maybe around the time that we're going to be there or hope to be there, and we'll like choose which direction we go based on like where these story times are or where these classes. We did this awesome cicada class. We did this really, really fucking cool eclipse class. There's just been so many good ones. We did an ASL class. We did like some science homeschooling classes. Like there's just been so many wonderful programs that the library puts on. So step 1, go to your maps. Step 2, type in the word library. Step 3, search every one in the nearby vicinity and find one that has a website. Some of them are really, really small branches and they're just not updated, but for the most part, one of them will be. Find the website, go to their events, go to the calendar, go to the branch that's closest to you, whatever it is that you need to do, and find out what programs they are having and go to them. Typically, they are not registerable. They're usually just like free. Anybody who wants to come on in. But occasionally you do have to register for classes. I don't like to register for classes typically because I do not want to take a spot from a child who is part of that community on a regular basis. But there are also so often that people sign up for things and then they just don't show up. I know the dinosaur event that we just signed up for last week or whatever. I think they had 25 spots, and the day before all 25 spots said that they were taken. And then when I got there was probably like 10 leftover dinosaur things. And I knew a kid who wanted to go and he wasn't able to because we weren't sure there would be a spot, and it was a real bummer. So if you can avoid registering for things, if you're not going to be there, and following up and double checking, and especially with kids, we know things happen, like things most certainly get in the way, but keeping things like registrations and limited number events and programs accurate is really important for the people who want to join in on those things. Anyway, so I think that's important. So those are the quickest steps for getting yourselves out there, seeing a library. In future episodes, you will hear all about the different libraries we specifically go to, what it's been doing for Poppy. It's been so awesome. We collect a sticker usually from every story time we go to. And then when we get home, we get to put it on our bike, and her bike's all covered in stickers. And she's super excited about that. And I think, I hope that one, it instills a love of library and learning in her as a child that fosters her growth into adulthood. It certainly has opened my eyes to so many different things. There are programs for businesses. There are programs for taxes. There are programs for fucking everything. Just check out your local library for real, especially teens. If you know teens, they have Lego building sets, they have contests, they have art things. Just look at your library, man. See what's up. It should be pretty cool. So this is a little bit about how we have been fostering Poppy's education as a child, the steps that we've taken to do that consciously and productively, and to utilize tools that are accessible to us and that I think are accessible to more people. So I will share all of the ASL tools and things that we use in the info below. And I certainly we'll talk more about libraries in future episodes. I'll also talk more about ASL, but the point of these first 10 episodes is really just to give you guys the opportunity to get to know me before we dive into all the places that we're going. So, and that we've been, and I'm really excited for you guys to hear all about it, but I'm so happy you hung out today, and I'll see you soon. Bye. Thanks so much for listening to today's episode. If you enjoyed what you heard, please click that follow button. And if you have the time to give us a review, I would so appreciate it. If you know anybody who's interested in travel, parenthood, and chaos, tell them about this show. The more people, the better. And if you'd like to learn more about us, please head to momaticadventures.com for access to all our information. And I can't wait for next week. Bye.